Once upon a time, in the land of methods, we find the grammar translation method. Grammar translation method required students to translate whole texts, word for word. My brain is so tired. All I do is memorize numerous grammatical rules and exceptions and vocabulary and more vocabulary. I'm so tired. I read and read and read some more. And then I read some more. I never get to talk. It's not fair. Because all students need to practice reading, writing, and speaking, a new method was born called the direct method. Dun, dun, dun. Now, class, we are only going to use English, so pay close attention. What is a noun? A noun is a person, place, or thing. Notice that person and place are both on our vocabulary list for this week. Now, what is a noun? A noun is a person, place, or thing. Thing. Who can give me an example of a noun? Once the king of methods, the audiolingual method has taken a nasty fall from grace. He is now a lowly peasant in the land of methods due to Chomsky's vicious attack. Based on behaviorist ideals, audiolingual, also known as the Army method, and Nuki method focuses on teaching language directly. Students are reinforced with positive feedback for correct answers and negative feedback on wrong answers. Vocabulary is not the main focus.
Hello, language learners. I am Dr. Teacher Max, and I'd like to welcome you to the experimental age of language teaching methods. These methods focus on the student's needs. Let's get started. Caleb Gatineau, that maverick of language teaching, believed that the learning process is more important than the teaching process. And that's why, in this method, the teacher remains silent. Shh, teachers. And the students develop language themselves through employment of color charts, fabulous, and rods. Teachers assess by taking orders from the students. Yay! Next, we have De-Suggestopedia. Developed by Georgy Lazanov, who believed that we all need to chill out about language learning. Don't stress, he suggests. You de-suggest your stress by making learning fun. Decorate the room, play music, read to the students, read to them again. Let them be stars of the class by acting out what you've read as alternate versions of themselves. Let's get serious now. Teachers, students are people too. Whole people. The community language learning approach says that teachers should act as language counselors to students. And, spoiler alert, the teacher has to act as a translator for students and record their L1 conversations to build a script for learning. Students can take ownership of language this way, or so the theory goes. Evaluation is not prescribed here, so it would be hard to know how well it works across the board. I would now like to introduce a special guest, Felicia Thischer. She's going to introduce you to TPR.
Why, thank you, Dr. Teacher Max. TPR, or Total Physical Response, is based on the comprehension approach. Language learning should begin with comprehension and then move forward to production. So, Dr. Teacher Max, face right. March forward. Face the camera. Give sparkle fingers. Wonderful work! See, now you've just participated in TPR. Now I know you can comprehend what I said in English. Oh, right.
Communicative language teaching. During the late 1970s and early 1980s, language teaching professionals began to approach language teaching differently, understanding that students needed more than knowledge of linguistic forms. Instead, these professionals knew that students needed opportunities to focus on language function through authentic, communicative activities. For this method, students may be divided into small groups or might communicate as a whole class. Students might participate in games or role-playing activities in order to improve their communicative abilities. Content-based, task-based, and participatory approaches. Communication is the central theme of each of these three components as well. However, these three approaches utilize the language to learn other content or complete tasks. These methods involve communication to learn other things, while communicative language teaching itself focuses on teaching communication. Content-based teaching involves integrating language and a subject area such as mathematics, science, or social studies. In task-based instruction, students are able to cooperatively complete an exercise through interaction and communication.
My classmate, Farah, and I were given the task of making a jack-o'-lantern, and we did it together. We cooperated! That's right, Farah. We cooperated, and we made a jack-o'-lantern.
The participatory approach, meanwhile, is similar to the content-based approach in that the students use language to learn about a particular area of study or interest. It is different, however, in that the content studied is decided upon by the students themselves. Learning strategy training, cooperative learning, and multiple intelligences. During the early 1970s, the focus in education began to shift to the learner herself and the role she played in her own learning. Learning strategy training involves teaching students techniques to utilize their own metacognition to better approach and process their own learning. These strategies can address all domains of communication, which would include listening, speaking, reading, and writing. And these strategies may also be used to manage affective filters. Cooperative learning, meanwhile, entails a kind of group learning, which is common in many communicative activities or methods.
Think, pair,
square! Finally, the idea of multiple intelligences addresses the fact that students possess a unique aggregate of strengths and weaknesses.
I can do math. I got the moves.
I can learn auditorily.
That should be acknowledged by the teacher and taken into consideration when differentiating instruction.
And now, the future of language learning. As communication and computer technology has boomed in the last 10 years, its reach into the classroom and implications for instruction have increased tremendously and will continue to evolve the tools available for teachers of language. A technology-ready classroom would have hardware features built in to aid visibility and information sharing among class members, such as ceiling-mounted projectors, wall-mounted flat screens, smartboards, as well as cameras built into computers and high-quality microphones and headsets for recording and listening to audio files. In a language learning classroom, students would have access to native speakers in other countries through programs like Skype. Students could interact live with children in countries of the target language to converse and work on projects. Also, teachers in language learning classrooms can use video games to teach and interact. Motion games like Wii bring TPR into the 21st century. Games that use avatars can digitalize the alternate personality concepts of Suggestipedia. Virtual worlds can be visited, and now that all of the resources of the internet have reached the advancement of being handheld, schools have a lot of catching up to do. The future of technology integration in the classroom is all about access to these technologies through adequate funding. What is the past for some schools is still the future for others. Legislators must fight for the funding necessary for the installation of computer technologies in schools so that all have access to these tools.
Together, we worked cooperatively, and we made this jack-o'-lantern!